G'day guys, and welcome to the Centre Bounce, where today we'll be talking about Jack Macrae in the spotlight. Stay tuned. Yes, guys, Jack Macrae. He is one of those real interesting selections because what are we going to get? What are we going to get? I've spoken about it before in the past that in other videos, are we going to get the Jack Macrae that finished the season last year on a really poor note? Or are we going to get some of the Jack Macrae that we saw in previous years where he has been a beacon of consistency and excellent scoring? And to be honest, there's not much out there. Trying to scour all these reports as much as I can. And it's just one of those real enigma selections who just seems to be going under the radar. Everything coming out of the Western Bulldogs is either about Tim English or about Sanders. And of course, Riley Sanders is going to be a really exciting player, and everyone's really keen to see what sort of output we can get from him. But what about Jack Macrae? It's almost like this guy who's been such a stalwart for so many years, and he's just, I don't know, it is genuinely bizarre. And we're going to go through bit step by step and having a look at what he has been capable of, what is dished out, and really why it's so bizarre. The sort of not only the messaging but the lack thereof in relation to this guy. It's quite stark. And you just look at him over the course of his career, and I say he's a beacon of consistency. Well, there you go. I mean, his rookie season averages 61 of 13 games, and then he just plays. He hardly misses anything. So not only is he a beacon of consistency in terms of his health, but it's also in terms of his scoring. Straight from the 61, he's averaged 100, 100, close to 100, just over 100, over 120, back-to-back years, basically 120, a 130, 115, and all of a sudden 99.9, like basically 100. But it's been quite a few years since we've last gotten to this point. His CBAs are markedly lower than what they've been in the 3 seasons preceding 2023. But he's shown that he doesn't need CBAs in order to get some sensational averages. Something weird is happening with Jack Macrae over there at the Western Bulldogs. 79% time on ground. He has not had a time on ground that low. That's literally the second time. It's his second lowest. And no, it's only 1%. Not too dissimilar to 80, which is less than the 83 the year before. But 83, which is less than 85, and he still averaged 130. So there's obviously nothing. There's nothing obvious. Just looking at the statistics, there is nothing obvious. And anyone that tells you right off the bat that it's clear, just looking at the numbers, I think they're mistaken, to be completely honest with you. It really needs an in-depth look at it. And we're going to go down and try our best to do that here today because, like I said, it's been quite a drastic fall from grace, especially in the last 3 games where he averaged 64.3. Only 13 disposals. Jack Macrae, 13 disposals. Jack Macrae, 16 disposals. It is bonkers. He is such an incredible accumulator. 24 disposals here. Like, is there a way to see roughly what his average disposals are? Okay, 17 roughly as a rookie, then 26.8. So let's just call it 27. 29, 30 odd. In this case here, 28 odd. In this case here, 27 odd. In this case here, 32 odd, 33 odd. Over 30 here, 33 odd. He averages a lot of disposals just based there. Just live quick maths here with decimal points. I'm not a mathematician by any point, by any metric, but you can see clearly he is an accumulator and is a sensational accumulator for the Bulldogs. So for him to end up with these low scores, something is weird. And I think a lot of it has got to come to the role that he's playing at the Western Bulldogs. They have so many incredible midfielders, and they've had to play people out of position, which is why Dunkley wanted to get out. He wanted to come to Essendon. We couldn't get the trade done. The Bulldogs did all they could to try and make him happy. They kept him to his contract. He stayed an extra season. They tried all they can to make him happy, but he still went to the to the Lions anyway. So it just seems that Bevo, who loves to mess around with the magnets, is notorious for it, for messing up with people's roles. And it seems that that might be part of the reason why Jack Macrae did not perform as well. And we just come to the first game of the 2023 season. And it tells me here that he's on a wing. He's got 106 points. Let's have a look and see whether or not these disposals are on a wing. And it does seem to be mostly on this side of the wing. He's had some centre bounce attendances, as we can see here. He had 62%. Let's compare that to the other Bulldog midfielders. He had 62%. So he's ahead of Bailey Smith, ahead of Adam Treloar. Of naturally, he's going to be behind Libba. Libba's a contested ball, and the Bont as well. So he seems to be, in this first game, among the top three mids at the coalface, and generated a lot of ball. Just because he gets a lot of ball on the outside, doesn't necessarily mean that he's playing on a wing. He's such a great runner, and like I said, he's great at accumulating. He's so smart. He knows where the ball's going to go, and he beats it there a lot of the time, and he'll receive the pill. So, all right. You look at this game, it's not concerning. He's got a good number of good percentage of CBAs, good number of disposals. He's got 33 disposals here and 106 points. Nothing to complain about there, especially in our forward lines. If we get 106s in our forward line, we take that and we say thank you very much. We move to the next game against the Saints. 25 disposals at 80%, which is quite good. 2 tackles, 2 marks. 41% of CBA, so he definitely had a shave off there in the CBA counts. What happened there? So round 2, at 41, Libba got a big bump. There was no Treloar in this game. And Caleb Daniel all of a sudden jumped in there. So, I mean, sure, yeah, no worries, Bevo. Only Bevo can go from 0% in week 1 to 59% in week 2. I mean, sure, why not? So, let's have a look. Playing in the midfield, apparently. There you go. So he's a lot of the pill in between the arcs and around the middle of the ground. That is not a disturbing heat map by any stretch. He's also getting probably some disposals from some throw-ins, from stoppages. He's getting some disposals there. So it's not too bad. We can take that. 78% time on ground. Not the best, to be honest. 85 Supercoach. You probably want more. 85 is a number that we're just not used to seeing. I mean, I'm just scrolling down here, and you can see all these scores from Macrae in the seasons before. It's very rare to see 85s among these. So, but we can't forget that Jack Macrae is in 2023 a little bit older. How old is Jack Macrae? He's 29 years old. So he was 29. He'll be 30 this coming season. So he's not a spring chicken. He should still be in the prime of his career, having said that. So, yeah, this is a real surprising one. Just couldn't get his hands on the footy, to be honest. And when he did, they were mostly handballs. So it seems to be that these were situations where he was under a little bit of pressure and wasn't just hacking the ball forward. We can try and have a look and see how others compared to him in this game. How did the other mids do? Well, Tim English was a freak. Bontempelli, 125. Did he have the most CBAs that game? No, he had 77. Libba had the 91. Libba had the 91, and he only scored 87. So that's not too bad from a comparative point of view for Jack Macrae to have scored 85. You can see that there's a clear market difference in the fantasy points, and that's probably because Tom Liberatore was a bit more wasteful with the pill, I would imagine, by the looks of things. So, I mean, we can even go even deeper. This was a shocking win. That's right. The St Kilda Football Club actually mopped up big time in this game, and that sort of makes sense. If you're going to be in a loss, you're not playing to the best of your ability, because if your guns are playing to the best of their ability, it means you're more likely to win. So the fact that they lost by 51 points, that was a shock. I do remember that. Look at the Bulldogs. Let's have a look at the clearances. Libba top of the chart, Bontempelli, Bailey Smith. Where is... Wow. Jack Macrae, there he is. 2 clearances. That's not great. He had 165 meters gained, which to me screams that it's just normal. Makes sense, because most of his disposals are handballs. It's hard to cover. It's hard to gain a lot of meterage with handballs. 2 marks, 2 tackles, 1 goal assist, which is not too shabby. So with the advanced, what else have we got? Inside 50s. Jack Macrae, 3 inside 50s. So he's kicking the ball inside. Only had the 1 center clearance, 4 score involvements, 2 intercept possessions. Look, 9 contested, 18 uncontested. So again, it's a weird one. It really is a weird one. The numbers just don't seem to add up in terms of why he had such a poor game. That's why it's hard. That's why we say it is really difficult, and why I'm doing this live here, so that we can maybe have a chat about this in the comment section down below. He got the pill, but it's mostly handballs. Wasn't being very dangerous with it, and the Bulldogs lost as a result. So that's really weird and very un-Jack Macrae. Come to the Brisbane Lions game, he scored a 114. Very similar percentage in the CBAs. Took a few marks, two more marks around the ground, and this is it. Back to his 30 disposal game. He did use the kick more often. Let's have a look at this heat map. Middle of the ground, between the arcs. It's what you want to see from a mid. Hardly any disposals in the forward 50. Hardly any in the back 50. He's really playing middle of the ground and tracking the ball at all of the stoppages, which is good. We want to see no complaints there. Come to this next game against Richmond. Back to 21 disposals, which isn't great, even though he had 54% CBA. So he had a bump in CBAs, but it shows here that he's playing on a wing. Let's look at that heat map. No, I don't think he's playing wing. I think this is, he's definitely playing in the center bounces. And then these disposals, I would imagine, are also part of the stoppages from the ball-ins, from the throw-in. So, yeah, I wouldn't be concerned. The fact that he's pushing all the way into the back line just goes to show that he's just being involved in the play and not really being dedicated as a winger. 103 points, 54%. Let's have a look at that round 4 game. What was the breakdown in round 4? The Bond, of course. Libba had a real shave from the 95 the week before. Treloar had a bit of a shave. Jack Macrae had a bit of a bump. Bailey Smith had the biggest jump. So Bevo is just changing up the midfield mix. He had Caleb Daniel up to 59% in this game, probably because of Adam Treloar's absence. There was one less player to go through. Gave it to Caleb Daniel. And then Adam Treloar comes back. Caleb Daniel loses all those CBAs, basically. Bailey Smith gets a massive drop in CBAs as well, because both of their CBAs get given to Treloar. In the following week, Bailey Smith gets a big bump up. Macrae gets a little bit of a bump up. Treloar gets a drop down. And that's probably because they have to manage Treloar and Libba. Libba isn't a young man anymore. Tom Liberatore. How old's Tom Liberatore? Let's have a look. Tom Liberatore, 31 years old, will be 32 this year. So I can understand that they sort of want to manage him, make sure they don't continuously give him high CBAs all the time. Same thing with Adam Treloar. Adam Treloar's not very young. Plus, he has some pretty extensive soft tissue injury. There you go. He's 30 years old. He'll be 31 this year. So trying to manage their older players and giving the younger ones an opportunity. I say younger ones. Jack Macrae is not that young either, but he's still in the prime of his career. But he's only in the blues here. Only in the blue when it comes to his percentage in the center bounces, which if we compare to years gone by, as we mentioned before, it's definitely less. Jack Macrae used to be the number one average midfielder in terms of the CBAs. These are the two ruckmen. Just in 2022, Jack Macrae attended the most number of CBAs for his team. In 2021, Marcus Bontham, no, Jack Macrae, there he is, 77 ahead of the Bont, who had 73. So the 2 seasons before, he was the number one midfielder attending the CBAs. Let's have a look at 2020. Or just second behind the Bont, who was 3% ahead of him. So, like, he's meant to be the Jack Macrae that we know and love, and who scored a lot of points. Tends to be more involved in the midfield. It's very rare for him to 1, 2, 3, fourth by a major stretch. He's literally had half the CBAs that Adam Treloar had, and he's the one just above him. And we can see games where he's got 0%, 0%, 0%, 30%. Like, it's the wild fluctuations is sort of what a lot of people talk about when they talk about crazy Bevo, and him not making the most of his team lineup because he keeps throwing the magnets around. He keeps, disrupting the apple cart, and it's very hard to continue to get that momentum in your game if you continuously have to keep changing your role all the time. I mean, where else did he play well? So this one was a good game against Fremantle, a 127. Let's have a look. Saw that he had 34 disposals. Again, it's all over the ground. Probably some 1-2 action here, which is why they're really close to each other. And that's the Jack Macrae that we know and love. Chain disposals, in bursts, covers the ground well. More CBAs than before, which is good. The disposal efficiency isn't flash, but let's have a look. How many of them were contested in nature? Because if you have a contested disposal, it is worth more. They did lose at Optus Stadium to Fremantle, but we're not looking for the result. We're looking for Jack Macrae's stats here. So we go to the player stats. We only want the Bulldogs. We want to go to advanced. Let's have a look at the center clearances. Dunks, Bont, Smith. Jeez. He's not even getting clearances. He got no clearances this game. All right. Contested possessions. There he is, Jack Macrae, 13. 13 contested, 23 uncontested. And that's what we want to see. 10 inside 50s. There you go. That's also more what we want to see. We want to see him actually be the one also kicking the ball into the forward 50. And as I mentioned before in a previous video, having someone kick the ball inside 50, and if that pass leads to a score, whether it be a goal or a behind, you get bonus points for a score assist. So Jack Macrae, if we can see more of Jack Macrae being truly playing in the midfield and getting the ball kicked inside, and there you go, look at that, score involvements, 9 of them. 9 of them. 10 inside 50s, 9 score involvements. This is where you get all these extra points as they come up. So that's sort of what we want to see, and that's a major help for the scoring here. I would imagine. 85. What happened against St Kilda? That's where they got killed. I might have actually looked at the last year's game. That's apologies there. 131 against Fremantle. Playing on a wing, apparently. He's definitely playing at the centre bounces, pushing forward. This is a good spot to get some kicks inside 50, actually. That's a good spot to get some more kicks inside 50. Let's have a look and see whether or not that did translate to balls inside 50. So this one was a comfortable Western Bulldogs win by 49 points over there in Perth. If you don't mind, let's have a look at the stats. We want the Bulldogs, advanced, score involvements. Where is he? Only the 5 score involvements there, which isn't sensational. 9 inside 50s, though. Really good. That's what we want to see from him. 20 contested possessions. That's excellent. Again, at 86% efficiency. And that's the reason why he was able to score so well in this game. Contested possessions with good efficiency, with a good role. That's what we want to see from Jack Macrae. 131, 52% CBAs. He doesn't need an immense number, but 29 possessions with a lot of contested. That's what we want to see. What we don't want to see, look at this against Carlton. 23 disposals, mostly handballs. That's not what we like. We want to see him kicking more. 9% of CBAs. That's very sad. It says that he's playing half forward flank. And I can see that. A lot of disposals around the 50-meter arc. Not so many in the middle of the ground. That's not a great heat map for Jack Macrae. Let's have a look closer. So he had 9% of CBAs against Carlton. Where'd they all go? Bailey Smith. He had none the week before, Bailey Smith. And all of a sudden, have 87%. How can you possibly even predict this? You just can't. It's an absolute roller coaster with Bevo. From 0 to 87. 0 to hero, just like that. If you know the reference, congratulations. Treloar didn't play, so that makes those CBAs had to go somewhere. They gave all of Treloar's and Macrae's CBAs to Bailey Smith, and they kept Caleb Daniel in there against Carlton, who are contested bulls. Yeah, put Caleb Daniel, not Jack Macrae, against Carlton. That's just ridiculous. What happened in that game? They managed to get the job done. It was at Marvel Stadium. How did the other mids do? It was Libba with a 141. Contested beast. Of course he was going to dominate. Ed Richards, a halfback. Bont. Bailey Smith. English had a poor game that week. Interesting. Lost to Pitane. Shitane, I like to call him sometimes. Caleb Daniel, 86. Jack Macrae, 81. At 68% time on ground, that is low. That is low by his standards and low for any premium. To be at sub 70% for the game is not ideal. So I would query why that's the case. If anyone knows why he had such low time on ground in this game, please let me know. That's not a good sign. 76, again, shows that he's playing half forward flank. That's not what we want to see. We don't want to see a lot of disposals in the forward 50. That's not what we want to see. This is a bizarre map. We want a midfielder to be here and spreading, not forward 50 and spreading. What's happened in this game? 20% of CBAs. He had 2 goals. Oh, there you go. See, 2 goals. He's getting disposals close to goal. 7 tackles, 26 disposals. So he sort of made it work. He made it work in this game by kicking those goals and getting those disposals. Well done, Jack Macrae. Again, another 145 off half forward flank. Maybe half forward flank is where he's supposed to be playing at this rate. Look at this. What a heat map. This is like a Sam Flanders heat map, dare I say. That ain't half forward flank. This is him all over the ground. This is a bit different to the one before that. 54% of CBAs. We'd love to see it. 33 disposals. This is what happened in round 10 and 11. Did anything have to change to the team mix-up? So Adam Treloar still not in there. Bailey Smith got a little knockback. Macrae got a little bump. But other than that, it was all the same. In 11, Treloar still not there. Macrae got more again of a bump. Bailey Smith had more of a shave off, as did Caleb Daniel. So again, and then as soon as Treloar comes back, straight up to 82%. Both Macrae and Bailey Smith and Caleb Daniel lose all their CBAs as well. So it's all personnel dependent, and it doesn't look like Macrae is in. It appears to me, based on this chart, that Jack Macrae is not in Bevo's ideal dream starting midfield rotations. It seems to me that Jack Macrae is his second run of in the midfield rotations, which is really sad because he's capable of achieving so much in the midfield. Well done to him for making these half-forward flank roles work for himself. 108, again, continuing to do it. It seems he got a lot of red there in the forward 50, a lot of time in forward 50. Again, made it work. That is not a pretty map, but he made it work because he's such a great accumulator. 26 disposals playing that shoddy role. Against North, he only scored 81. Just the 22 disposals. On a wing, it says apparently. Let's have a look and see. Yeah, that is mostly wing, I would imagine. That is pretty wingy. And that's not what we want to see. That's not a good role for him. So he goes from 0% CBAs to all of a sudden the next week, 65%. Why? Is Treloar out again? Round 16? What happened? So Caleb Daniel just magically lost all his CBAs all of a sudden. Most of them wanted Jack Macrae. Okay. What happened against Fremantle in this game? 107. Playing on a wing. Yeah. That does look pretty wingy. I'll accept that. The Dogs won again at Marvel. How'd everybody do? Libba killed it. Halfback. Bont killed it. Treloar killed it. There he is, Macrae. Okay. I can accept that. I can accept that. Then what happened here? 81 half forward flank, 25 disposals. The Collingwood Magpies, they were the premiers for a reason. They were a tough team to beat. Let's have a look at that heat map. Yeah, he's involved in the play in the middle of the ground, defensive side, some offensive side. Nothing in the forward 50, hardly anything in the back 50. Yeah, it's a weird heat map, but it's in the right area of the ground. No CBAs in that game. 8 marks. So I'm trying to poke some holes in their defensive setup. 81's not great. 24 disposals, 89. Half forward flank again, not great. Again, not middle of the ground, definitely around the periphery. And the periphery is not really a very dangerous area. Definitely a lot more potent when you're getting more of the pill in the middle. And you see the difference in the scoring when you look at the heat map. Whenever the heat map shows middle, you're seeing a lot higher scores compared to when heat maps are out wide. He seems to be positioned in non-dangerous areas. 23 disposals against Essendon, 30% CBAs. He only scored 91. It's a lot of forward 50 there, as well as defensive wing. That's, again, it's not a positive map. It's not a map that has him really being involved. This is almost like a role player map. And I think that's the big takeaway that we've got here for Jack Macrae. That he's not, there you go. Once you start to see more red in the middle of the ground, he gets more points. When his red is out here, out wide, defensive side of the wing or half forward flank, you start to see a lot lower scores. This is substantially better. He's pushing to the back line and helping out in the middle. This would have seen a good score. What score was this? Round 20. He had a 122. So the heat map suggests that was a positive role. He's getting the ball in good areas of the ground. And when you look at that, he's got good points for it. You compare that. Let's have a look at this 49. What's this heat map look like? Well, he's hardly got the pill. 13 disposals is just ridiculous. And a lot of them around the outside. Once again, not dangerous and not doing anything with them. 78 against the Hawks, 16 disposals. Would have thought he'd had a better score with this sort of heat map with more red in the middle. But he just didn't get a lot of the pill. Only 16 disposals. I don't know how you can expect to score really well with only 16 disposals. So, yeah, basically, we've seen enough here. We've seen enough. Jack Macrae, to be good, needs his ball in the middle of the ground. To be good, Jack Macrae needs to be playing midfield or high half forward, very similar to a Sam Flanders, who might start close to 50 but work his way and be a supporting hand in a lot of these stoppages around the ground. If Jack Macrae is being given a role where he's playing around the periphery as a role player, we will continue to see some mediocre scores from him. He'll have the occasional spike game, which will elevate his average, but we need him to be moved away from that role, have that role be given to James Harms, who also doesn't have a lot of information being talked about. He's just a solid player, not very flashy, doing his role. But what is that role going to be? We really need to keep a close eye on the Western Bulldogs because we're not hearing anything from these important players for our Supercoach sides. So I know this one is a little bit weirder, a little bit more different to the other ones that I've done so far, but such is the nature of Jack Macrae. I think the general consensus at this point is that we start him in our teams. He's got a good buy very late into the piece. He is probably the only one apart from Sam Flanders, who I spoke about in the previous video, who is likely to spike, to give us some consistent scoring and to really threaten that 100 average. So at this point, I think that we're almost forced into starting him, having a close eye on the preseason. And if we continue to hear nothing, or, not even just anything positive, if we don't hear anything at all, then we might have to reconsider. But our options in the forward line are so slim that we might just be forced into playing it safe, making sure that we don't miss out on potentially an easy option for F1 for the year. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, a subscription will greatly help the channel. If you like what you heard here today and are just as confused about Jack Macrae and the lack of information about him and why Bevo is deciding to stuff around with him so much, please drop us a like. Would greatly appreciate it. And make sure you hit that notification bell because we'll be doing a lot more of these spotlight videos for you. And definitely a lot of them are going to be less confusing than this one. Make sure you guys get in that comment section down below and let me know of any other players that you want me to go into depth about. Definitely taking all of your suggestions. I know some people have asked for Cam Guthrie, so I'm going to be talking about Cam Guthrie in the coming days. Some people have asked about Marcus Bontempelli. I'll talk about him as well. But in the meantime, head on over to Supercoach with DR. He made an incredible video talking about Marcus Bontempelli and whether or not you should select him or not. So massive kudos to him for that incredible video, and a massive kudos to you guys for coming along and watching this video. And remember, here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so that you don't have to. See you all in the next one.